Okay, welcome everyone to another wonderful week. We're going to dedicate the shir to Yeshaya Pinchas ben Mordechai HaLevi, Chaim's father. Shama should have an aliyah, Yishmir Meltz Yosher, for his family, for all of us and all of Klal Yisrael. We're also dedicated by the Fisher family, Nishmas Basi Bas Rabbi, Shlomo ben Avram HaLevi, Perel Bas Ruvain, also Lili Nishmas David ben Chaim, Refuah Shalem for Yomis ben Chayesar, for the Schutz of Avram and Yom Benish ben Malk Yehudas and family, by Yo Kubman and family, and Refuah Shalem for Meir ben Chayesar. So we talked about the fact that when Yaakov possesses a land for 3 years, and the Mori Kama, the previous owner, did not protest, so then he doesn't have to keep his paper anymore, and his Cheskas Gimel Shonim, his possession for 3 consecutive years without any Mecha, is proof of ownership. However, the Mishnah now adds a very important caveat, as we are up to Mishnah Gimel. Kol chazaka she'ein imotaina, any chazaka that doesn't have a claim, ain't a chazaka. That means if I ask Yaakov, what are you doing in my land? Right? And he says, well, nobody said anything to me, and I have it for 3 years without a protest. That's not a good chazaka. Kol chazaka she'ina eini motaina, any chazaka that doesn't have with it a claim that I bought it, that you gave it to me as a gift, ain't a chazaka, then that is not a good proof. Ketzad, Amalei, I say to him, I'm the Mori Kama. And I say to him, what are you doing in my land? Vu Amalei, and he says, look, nobody said anything to me. I have it 3 years, and nobody protested. Ain't a chazaka. That's not a chazaka. Because the whole idea is that he doesn't have to keep the paper, but he has to have a claim. If he says you sold it to me, you gave it to me as a gift, or or your father sold it to me, your father gave it to me as a gift. No, that's a chazaka. That's a chazaka. Now, Vabamishim Yerusha, let's say he got it by inheritance. Let's say he got it by inheritance, and he occupied it 3 years without protest. He doesn't have to explain how his father got a hold of it. As long as his father occupied it 1 day, and he has it, Yerusha, and 3 years, the original owner didn't protest, that's enough. Let's see it inside. V'abamishim Yerusha, if he gets it as an inheritance, ain't it tzorich taina. He doesn't have to prove how his father got a hold of it. He doesn't need to do that. If it was by his father 1 day, and now it was by him 3 years without protest, and he says he inherited it, that's good. Now, of course, Yaakov's being in the land without protest is only a good enough proof if I should have protested. But ha'umanin, if he's a craftsman, v'ashutafin, or he's a partner, v'arisin, a sharecropper, apotropin, if he's an executor, then ein lem kazaka, because his being there doesn't prove that he's an owner. He's there because he's a sharecropper. He's there because he's an executor. He's there because he's a craftsman. He's there because he's a partner. Similarly, ein leish chazaka b'nechsei yishtei. A man doesn't have a chazaka because he was in his wife's property 3 years without protest. Because his wife is not going to protest that her husband is there. V'lo leish chazaka b'nechsei bailam. Vice versa is also true. A wife doesn't have a chazaka when she's 3 years in her husband's property without him protesting, because he's not going to protest his wife being in his property. The same thing, a father has no chazaka if he's in his son's land for 3 years, or the ben doesn't have a chazaka if he's in his father's land, because a father doesn't protest when his son is there, the son doesn't protest when his father is there. Now, the chazaka we're talking about is a chazaka that's a raya, that's a proof that you were there 3 years without protest. That's a proof you don't have to keep your shtar. There's another type of chazaka, which is the kinyan chazaka. And now here the Mishnah makes the distinction. When do these rules apply? B'machazik. That's a person who has something for 3 years without protest to show that it's his. If somebody gives you a gift, or brothers that divided, or a ger dies without Yoshim, and you want to take possession, so one of the ways to take possession and make kinyan is with a kinyan chazaka. What is a kinyan chazaka? No, if you lock the area, the gadar, or you fence the area, or paratz, or you make it, or paratz kosher, or you made an opening so it should be more accessible, harizu chazaka, that's a kinyan chazaka. Now, Mishna Daled tells us, if let's say Reb Hoffman and Reb Yafi testify that Reb Yaakov Warman occupied my field for 3 years. So now that would mean that they're granting him my field. That's a $350,000 field. V'nimtzu zaymemen. And then Reb Yafi and Reb Hoffman were found to be in Dubai the last 3 years. So they couldn't give testimony. So they wanted to take away from me a field of $350,000. The two of them together have to pay me $350,000. That's kasher zomim lasas lachim. What they plotted to do against me, to take away my $350,000. Shnayim b'rishayna, if 2 witnesses testified about the first year, Ushnayim b'shniya, 2 other witnesses testified about his occupation the second year, Ushnayim b'shlishis, and 2 other witnesses testified about the occupation of the third year. So there are witnesses that he occupied it 3 years through 6 different people, and then we find out that they were all in Dubai. So if the value of the field was $360,000, so Mishalshin Beinayim, each set has to pay $120,000. Now, each year is a separate testimony. So let's say Yaakov occupied my field. One of the witnesses was Reb Hoffman. But you need 2 witnesses. 3 brothers, Reuven, Shimon, and Levi, saw Yaakov occupy the field. Reuven the first year, Shimon the second year, and Levi the third year. So you'll say, brothers can't combine. No. Each year is a different testimony. First year is Reuven and Reb Hoffman. Second year is Shimon and Reb Hoffman. Third year is Levi and Reb Hoffman. Shleisha achim ve'echad mitzdaref iman. 3 brothers, and Reb Hoffman saw all 3 years. It's not a problem of Karev. Hareelu shalosh eduyos. They are 3 different sets of testimony. So the first year could be Reuven and Reb Hoffman, the second year could be Shimon and Reb Hoffman, and the third year could be Levi and Reb Hoffman. But ve'hin edus achas la'azama. The only way there would be zaymamin is if we prove all 6 were in Dubai. If, let's say, we just proved that Reb Hoffman was in Dubai, the edus falls apart. He doesn't have a chazaka, but there's no zaymamin. There's only zaymamin if we proved both witnesses. In the event we showed that Reuven, Shimon, Levi, and Reb Hoffman were in Dubai, so Reb Hoffman has to pay 50% of the 360, and each brother has to pay a 1/6 of the 360, and then it would be Eidim Zaymamin. Rabbi say, remember there's no second Marav tonight. Daf Yomi is at 8. Marav now. Reb Kananya ben Akasha Amaratz HaKadosh Baruch